talking about it's weird because he and Billy have not explicitly said that he is calling plays.
Sure.
Now, granted, they have said he has a bigger voice within the offense. How much of a voice that is, they won't confirm, but it does certainly feel like, considering the lack of explosive plays, some of the unimaginative play calling at times last year, that he is going to make an impact in play calling one way or another. Will he actually call plays for an entire game? Probably not. Could he call plays for a drive or two in the middle of the game? Possibly. He had a lot of success when he was the OC at Samford. They were one of the, and I know it's the FCS, so don't dock on me that it's the FCS versus the FBS, but he had a lot of success in that role. They were one of the top passing offenses in the FCS when he was at Samford. They put up crazy Joe Burrow like numbers. So again, he brings a lot to the table that Florida didn't have with play calling last year. Um, between the creative passing plays, throwing the ball down the field. I know everyone was excited about the Graham Mertz to Aiden Mizell pass today. I know that's something that they've talked about in press conferences going back to spring about how they want to create more downfield passes, more explosive plays with Graham Mertz. Last year, they kind of kept him in control because he was a new quarterback, wanted to keep him comfortable. Now is the year that you take a little bit more risks. I think Russ Callaway can provide that for them with some of his play calling, some of his scheme design, some of the successes that he's had in his past. Another thing they talked about was getting Trey Wilson touches, what that looks like for them. He mentioned when he was with the Giants and they had Kadarius Toney. That's something that reminds him of the way that they, can be creative in getting him touches and getting him down the field. And we saw that last year. That's no surprise. But again, I know that sounds like I'm saying a lot of nothing, but me personally, it feels like that he has a bigger voice and a bigger role in the offense than he and Billy and some of the players are letting on. It feels like that he's going to have a much larger role in the play calling. It feels like he has a much larger role in the play design. It feels like he has a much larger role in scheme decisions and things like that than they're letting on. So, time will tell with the difference. You'll see how it looks, if it looks any different from last year come August 31st. But it feels like that he's going to have a larger role than they're letting on. And you add to it, you get helmet communication from the same way the NFL does this year. He's an NFL guy. He has experience with working with, those equipment and things like that. So maybe that's something that helps Billy, where he can handle that side of things. So there's a lot to take away from what he said there's a lot and not a lot to take away from what he said in the press conference. As you said, reading between the lines, reading the tea leaves for something. So it feels like he's going to have a much larger role than he lets on.
What gives you reason to believe those things? What are some of the? Is it gas that you're feeling, or is there a little bit of tidbit you got, like just from talking around that, like, look, I think, and the reason to keep the secret and kind of try to keep it as hush hush as possible, and maybe sneak up on a few people, because day one they're going to find out pretty quickly. Like, Russ has got to touch on this thing. How much people still aren't going to know, but you think, is that the reason? This is a quick little interruption here. I got a quick secret to tell you. It's August, which means football season, which means time to dial it in, which means, yes, this is an ad. Brought to you, though, by BetUS.com. Use the link in the description. Why should I use that link in the description? Because it's time to start blowing some cheddar, boys and girls. It's football. Start putting the bets down, okay? And you use the link in the description. You get a little extra, okay? For the first 3 months, you get 125% on your first 3 deposits, 125% bonus, plus 10% insurance on your gambling. I mean, what more could you possibly ask for when it comes to BetUS.com? Okay, link is in the description. We are so pumped to be partnered up with these guys for the entire season. Let's win some money together. We're going to bet in the lines on Florida football, betting some Heisman odds on Graham Mertz. Everything you got. Every little extra cheddar we got. No more Chick-fil-A, boys and girls. Time to focus and time to dial it in. I'm back to other show. Back to younger, prime, dialed in. And Dave. I think Dave's on the show too. Maybe not. Maybe it's just me. I think it's Dave. Enjoy the show.
Yeah. Again, Billy is a very secretive guy. It's no secret that this staff does not let information out that they don't want out.
Sure.
It's, again, going back to spring, as soon as Russ Callaway was announced as the co-OC, the first questions were about play calling, and the vibe we all got was that Russ will have input into the play design and play calls, but Billy would have the final say. Ultimately, that's kind of what it feels like. But again, just from how things have worked out and the interest that Florida has in changing the offense with more explosive plays down the field, more plays that are quarterback start rather than just a guy getting it to a playmaker and letting him do his thing. That's stuff that Russ Callaway helps with. That's stuff that he's good at. He used to be a quarterback coach too. Add to it that Ryan O'Hara can now directly coach on the sidelines now that they changed the analyst rule. Just the vibe and the feeling and covering Billy for the last 3 years and the way he talks versus what happens, it feels like that they're not letting on as much as
Gotcha.
they want.
That makes
And
sense.
again, the truth will be revealed August 31st. When with play designs. I mean, Billy is you could tell what play call is a Billy Napier play call versus maybe something else. So you'll see that with Russ Callaway and the changes that they made with the offense. And add to it with the receiving core, they have better receivers to take downfield shots.
Sure.
Aiden Mizell, Elijah Badger has the speed and the experience. Jim Ray Dike has that connection with Graham Mertz pre-UF. So it feels like everything's kind of coming together with the offense with some of the guys that they brought in. The Russ Callaway having a bigger role, and I think that's something that fans want to see is more shots down the field because Graham Mertz, his 70% completion percentage was great last year. He only threw 3 interceptions. That's great. They didn't take a lot of downfield shots, so I think people want to see more of that risk.
Look, it's Lion season for us. That means Billy can lie to us, and if he wants to lie to us and tell us he's going to run the ball 600 times for over 2,000 yards and then come out there and throw for 4,000, listen, you can lie to me all day. You can lie all sweetness to me all day. And I think I read somewhere where Mertz did say, look, I'm not going to focus on the numbers this year. I'm just going to go out there and play ball. In the sense, I'm not going to focus on my completion rate. Not going to focus on having how many interceptions I throw, which is another tea leaf you could read to say, we better sling that thing, baby. Buckle up. Dave, what do you got, big guy, before we let little Cam go, before we do a little tidbit, little sprinkle of some recruiting juice?
Yeah, I was just going to add that I think that at some points last year with Billy Napier calling plays, I think the creativeness was there, and I think that he tried to get creative, but I think he did it in the wrong scenarios, and when he should not have done that. I mean, we all remember the Florida State game and some of the other blunders that had happened last year, and I heard a lot about Callaway calling plays in the red zone last year. If you look at the red zone statistics, you went 44 for 48 in the red zone. You scored a touchdown 32 times, 12 field goals, obviously. But, I mean, you had pretty much almost a 70% score rate in the red zone. So if you want to, take those statistics and look at what Russ Callaway's kind of done with the team, it may be a good, I guess, a good chemical that you can just combust into the offense, and then hopefully maybe it turns into something, and maybe that, maybe Graham Mertz, maybe he does have a, maybe a second Kyle Trask-like year where maybe he looks pretty good, but then the next year he just
He's Joe
rose.
Burrow. Yeah.
Dave
Dave the scientist. I love it. Little combustion, I love it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I gotta add a little bit of science to this. You ever know who Bill Nye the Science Guy was?
A lot of Billy's.
Not old enough for that, are you?
No, I know.
I didn't think so.
He's not Billy. He's not Billy, but he's Billy.
Adding to that red zone thing, that was something I also put in the Callaway article. Is last year at Samford, they scored 92 or 90.2% of the time in the red zone.
Yeah. So I mean, like if he's
for that as a coach, as a head coach, you have an assistant on staff who puts up those crazy numbers. It's good that Billy isn't ignoring that and is giving him a bigger voice in the offense. But again, it just between everything and the goals that they have for the offense, the goals that Graham Mertz has for himself, the things that Billy has said kind of without saying, and the things that Russ Callaway has said without saying, it feels like he has a bigger role than they like to let on. So, and I'm sure you'll see that this year if they take more downfield shots, if the execution is a little bit better on those creative plays, if the timing of those creative plays is a little bit better, because they had these fancy trick plays, but they called them at some of the worst possible times. Maybe Russ Callaway, maybe he doesn't do something like that, and I think you'll see that a little bit this year.